The 1990s were filled with unforgettable movies. Some became massive hits, while others quietly slipped past audiences. Hidden beneath the blockbusters were powerful stories, bold ideas, and incredible
A farm
performances that
after she's
never
seen
received
LA.
the attention they deserved.
They
Today,
give
we're
me
bringing those forgotten treasures back into the spotlight. Here are 20 hidden 90s movie gems that deserve to be discovered and watched again. 1. The Ice Storm, 1997. Winter slowly settles over a quiet Connecticut suburb, and beneath the calm surface, families begin to fracture. The Ice Storm, 1997, is a deeply emotional drama directed by Ang Lee that explores the complicated lives of two neighboring families during Thanksgiving weekend in the 1970s. Kevin Kline and Joan Allen play a married couple whose relationship is quietly falling apart, while their teenage children are navigating confusion, curiosity, and emotional loneliness. As the story unfolds, everyone becomes caught in their own personal struggles, secrets, and risky decisions. When a powerful ice storm arrives, it freezes the town in silence, symbolizing the emotional distance between the characters. The film doesn't rely on big dramatic moments. Instead, it focuses on quiet conversations and uncomfortable truths. Its slow pacing and thoughtful storytelling make it feel incredibly real. Over time, The Ice Storm has become one of the most respected dramas of the 1990s. 2. Dead Man, 1995. A quiet accountant named William Blake travels west for a new job, but the journey quickly turns into something far stranger. Dead Man, 1995, directed by Jim Jarmusch, is a haunting black and white western that feels more like a dream than a traditional movie. Johnny Depp plays Blake, a man who becomes an outlaw after a violent encounter leaves him wounded. Lost in the wilderness, Blake meets a mysterious Native American named Nobody, who believes he is the reincarnation of the famous poet William Blake. Together they travel through a surreal and dangerous landscape filled with bounty hunters and strange encounters. What makes Dead Man unique is its slow, hypnotic atmosphere. The film blends Western themes with philosophy and dark humor. Neil Young's minimalist guitar score adds to the eerie mood. Over the years, the movie has become a cult classic admired for its poetic storytelling. 3. The Spanish Prisoner, 1997. Trust can be a dangerous thing, especially when millions of dollars are involved. The Spanish Prisoner, 1997, is a clever psychological thriller written and directed by David Mamet. The story follows Joe Ross, a quiet and honest businessman who develops a revolutionary corporate invention known simply as the process. While attending a corporate retreat, Joe meets a charming stranger, played by Steve Martin. At first, the man seems helpful and friendly, but soon Joe becomes trapped in a complicated web of lies, manipulation, and betrayal. The film slowly builds tension through dialogue and subtle clues rather than action. Mamet's writing is sharp and precise, forcing viewers to constantly question who can be trusted. Although it didn't become a major box office success, The Spanish Prisoner is now praised as one of the smartest thrillers of the 1990s. Its twists feel realistic and unsettling. 4. The War, 1994. Growing up is never easy, especially when the adults around you are fighting their own battles. The War, 1994, tells a heartfelt story, set in Mississippi during the early 1970s. Kevin Costner plays Stephen Simmons, a Vietnam War veteran struggling to adjust to civilian life while supporting his family. His son, played by a young Elijah Wood, becomes involved in a neighborhood rivalry with a group of aggressive kids. What begins as childish conflict slowly turns into a deeper lesson about courage, loyalty, and standing up for what is right. Meanwhile, Stephen is battling his own emotional scars from the war, trying to rebuild his life and be a better father. The film combines childhood adventure with serious emotional themes. Although it wasn't a huge commercial hit, The War remains a powerful story about family, healing, and the lasting impact of war. 5. Dark City, 1998. Imagine waking up in a city where the sun never rises and your memories might not belong to you. Dark City, 1998, is a mysterious science fiction thriller directed by Alex Proyas. The story follows John Murdoch, a man who wakes up in a hotel bathtub with no memory and discovers he is accused of murder. As he tries to uncover the truth, Murdoch learns that the city is controlled by strange beings known as the Strangers, Every night at midnight, they stop time and rearrange people's memories, identities, and even the city itself. The film blends noir detective storytelling with deep science fiction ideas about identity and reality. Although it was overshadowed by other sci-fi films of the era, Dark City has since become a cult favorite. Its dark atmosphere and thought-provoking concept make it one of the most visually striking films of the 1990s. 6. Smoke, 1995. Every morning in Brooklyn, a small cigar shop opens its doors and life quietly passes through it. Smoke, 1995, is a warm and thoughtful film about everyday people and the stories they carry with them. Harvey Keitel plays Augie Wren, a cigar shop owner who has a unique hobby. Every single day, at the exact same time, he takes a photograph of the same street corner. To him, the photos are never the same because people change, moments change, and life keeps moving. The story follows several characters who drift in and out of Augie's shop, including a writer struggling with grief and a young man searching for family. Rather than focusing on big events, the film celebrates small conversations and human connections. Smoke is quiet, reflective, and deeply human. Over time, it became a beloved independent film known for its heartfelt storytelling. 7. Lone Star, 1996. In the dusty Texas borderlands, the past never really disappears. Lone Star, 1996, begins when a skeleton is discovered in the desert, reopening a decades-old mystery involving a former sheriff. Chris Cooper plays Sheriff Sam Deeds, the man assigned to investigate the case. As Sam digs deeper, he begins uncovering secrets about the town and even about his own father, who once held the same badge. The investigation slowly reveals long-buried tensions involving race, power, and history along the Texas-Mexico border. Instead of a typical crime thriller, the film focuses on how communities carry their past with them. Each character remembers the past differently, making the truth harder to find. Lone Star was praised by critics for its thoughtful storytelling and layered characters. Today, it's considered one of the most intelligent and emotionally rich mystery films of the 1990s. 8. The Limey, 1999. A tough British ex-convict arrives in Los Angeles with one goal. He wants to find out what really happened to his daughter. The Limey, 1999, stars Terrence Stamp as Wilson, a quiet but dangerous man who believes someone in the city is responsible for her death. The film follows Wilson as he tracks down clues that lead him to a wealthy music producer, played by Peter Fonda. As the story unfolds, director Steven Soderbergh tells the narrative in a fragmented style, mixing memories and present-day events. This unusual editing style makes the movie feel like a puzzle slowly coming together. What could have been a simple revenge story becomes something deeper. The Limey explores grief, regret, and aging. Although it didn't make a big impact at the box office, the film is now admired for its bold storytelling and powerful performances. 9. The Last Days of Disco, 1998. The disco era is fading, but inside a glamorous Manhattan nightclub, the music still plays. The Last Days of Disco, 1998, captures the final moments of a cultural trend that once defined nightlife in the early 1980s. The story follows two young women working at a publishing company who spend their nights at an exclusive disco club. As they navigate friendships, romance, and ambition, their lives begin to change along with the music scene around them. Director Whit Stillman fills the film with witty dialogue and sharp observations about class, relationships, and young adulthood. Unlike flashy dance movies, The Last Days of Disco focuses more on the conversations and social dynamics inside the club. Over time, the film has gained a loyal following for its humor, stylish atmosphere, and nostalgic look at the end of the disco era. 10. A Simple Plan, 1998. Sometimes a small decision can destroy everything. A Simple Plan, 1998, begins when three men discover a crashed airplane in the snowy woods of Minnesota. Inside the plane, they find a duffel bag filled with millions of dollars in cash. At first, they agree to keep the money and wait quietly until the search for the missing plane ends. It seems like the perfect plan, but fear, greed, and suspicion slowly begin tearing them apart. Bill Paxton plays the ordinary man caught in the middle of this dangerous situation, while Billy Bob Thornton delivers a heartbreaking performance as his troubled brother. Director Sam Raimi builds tension through quiet moments rather than action scenes. the film shows how quickly good people can make terrible choices. A Simple Plan is now widely considered one of the most gripping crime dramas of the 1990s. 11. Kundun, 1997. High in the mountains of Tibet, a young boy is chosen for an extraordinary destiny. Kundun, 1997, tells the story of the 14th Dalai Lama, from his childhood discovery as the spiritual leader of Tibet to the moment he is forced into exile. Directed by Martin Scorsese, the film focuses on quiet moments rather than dramatic action. We watch the young Dalai Lama grow from an innocent child into a leader carrying the heavy responsibility of guiding his people. As China begins to take control of Tibet, the peaceful world around him slowly changes. The film is visually stunning, filled with vibrant colors, traditional rituals, and beautiful landscapes. Composer Philip Glass provides a powerful score that gives the story a calm, meditative feeling. Although Kundun received strong critical praise, it was not widely seen because of political controversy. Today, it is remembered as one of Scorsese's most spiritual and visually striking films. 12. The End of the Affair, 1999. Love can be powerful, but it can also leave deep scars. The End of the Affair, 1999, is a passionate romantic drama set in London during and after World War II. Ralph Fiennes plays Maurice Bendrix, a writer who cannot forget his intense affair with Sarah Miles, played by Julianne Moore. Their relationship was once filled with passion and secrecy, but it ended suddenly without explanation. Years later, Bendrix becomes obsessed with discovering why Sarah left him. As he investigates her life, he begins uncovering truths about faith, guilt, and sacrifice. The film moves between past and present, slowly revealing the emotional complexity of their relationship. Julianne Moore's performance earned major award recognition for its emotional depth. The End of the Affair is not just a love story. It is about jealousy, devotion, and how love can continue to haunt people long after it ends. 13. The Painted Veil, 1999. A troubled marriage becomes a journey of transformation in The Painted Veil, 1999. Set in the early 20th century, the story follows Kitty, a young woman who marries a quiet doctor named Walter. After Walter discovers Kitty's affair, he takes her with him to a remote Chinese village suffering from a deadly cholera outbreak. At first, Kitty feels trapped in a place far from the comfortable life she once knew. But as she witnesses the suffering of the villagers and Walter's dedication to helping them, she slowly begins to change. The film explores themes of forgiveness, compassion, and emotional growth. Beautiful landscapes and soft cinematography give the story a calm, reflective tone. Although the film didn't gain widespread attention when it was released, The Painted Veil remains a touching story about how difficult circumstances can sometimes lead people toward understanding and redemption. 14. Bullets Over Broadway, 1994. In 1920s New York, the theater world is full of ambition, ego, and unexpected surprises. Bullets Over Broadway, 1994, is a clever comedy directed by Woody Allen. The story follows David Shane, a young playwright desperate to bring his new play to the stage. However, there is a catch. The money for the production comes from a powerful gangster who insists that his untalented girlfriend be given a leading role. To keep an eye on her, the mob boss sends along one of his tough bodyguards. Unexpectedly, the gangster's bodyguard turns out to have an incredible talent for writing dialogue and improving the play. The film blends crime and comedy in a witty way, while poking fun at the artistic world. Bullets Over Broadway was praised by critics and even won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. 15. The Player, 1992. Hollywood may look glamorous, but behind the scenes, it can be ruthless. The Player, 1992, is a sharp satirical thriller directed by Robert Altman. Tim Robbins plays Griffin Mill, a powerful movie studio executive who spends his days rejecting scripts and deciding which stories get made into films. One day he begins receiving threatening postcards from a writer whose script he rejected. As the messages continue, Griffin becomes increasingly paranoid and desperate to discover who is behind them. The film cleverly blends suspense with dark humor while offering a biting look at the movie industry. It also features dozens of celebrity cameos, making the Hollywood setting feel even more real. The Player was highly praised by critics and is still considered one of the smartest and most entertaining films ever made about Hollywood itself. 16. The Apostle, 1997. Faith can lift people up, but it can also reveal their deepest flaws. The Apostle, 1997, tells the story of Sonny Dewey, a passionate preacher played by Robert Duvall. Sonny is a man who truly believes in God, but his personal life is full of anger and mistakes. After a violent incident destroys his life, Sonny flees town and creates a new identity as a preacher in a small Louisiana community. There, he builds a new church and begins preaching again, hoping to find redemption. What makes the film powerful is Duvall's performance. His sermons feel raw, emotional, and real. The movie doesn't present Sonny as a perfect man. Instead, it shows a deeply flawed person struggling with faith and guilt. The Apostle received critical praise and earned Duvall an Academy Award nomination for his unforgettable performance. 17. The Sweet Hereafter, 1997. A quiet Canadian town is shattered by tragedy in The Sweet Hereafter, 1997. One winter morning, a school bus carrying several children crashes into an icy lake. The accident leaves the community grieving and searching for someone to blame. Ian Holm plays Mitchell Stevens, a lawyer who arrives in town offering to represent the families in a lawsuit. As he speaks with the grieving parents, hidden tensions and painful secrets begin to surface. The film moves between past and present, showing the lives of the families before and after the accident. It focuses less on the disaster itself and more on the emotional impact it leaves behind. Directed by Adam Egoyan, the movie is quiet and deeply reflective. The Sweet Hereafter was widely praised by critics and nominated for 2 Academy Awards. 18. A Midnight Clear, 1992. War films often focus on battles and explosions, but A Midnight Clear, 1992, takes a very different approach. Set during World War II, the story follows a group of young American soldiers stationed in a snowy forest in France. As Christmas approaches, the soldiers encounter a small group of German troops hiding nearby. Instead of fighting, both sides begin to consider a temporary truce. The men on both sides are exhausted, frightened, and simply hoping to survive the war. The film focuses on the emotional side of war rather than action. It shows the soldiers as ordinary young men who miss home and question the violence around them. Although it was overshadowed by bigger war films at the time, A Midnight Clear has gained respect for its thoughtful and deeply human story. 19. Safe, 1995. Life appears perfect for Carol White, a wealthy housewife living in suburban California. But in Safe, 1995, that perfect life slowly begins to fall apart. Julianne Moore plays Carol, a woman who suddenly starts experiencing mysterious health problems. She suffers from headaches, nosebleeds, and breathing difficulties, but doctors cannot find a clear cause. Some believe she may have environmental illness, while others think the problem might be psychological. As Carol searches for answers, she becomes increasingly isolated from her family and the world around her. Director Todd Haynes uses wide, quiet shots to show how small and lost Carol feels in her own life. Over time, Safe has become a cult classic, praised for its haunting atmosphere and powerful commentary on modern life and isolation. 20. The Straight Story, 1999. Sometimes the most powerful stories are the simplest ones. The Straight Story, 1999, is based on a true story about Alvin Straight, an elderly man who travels hundreds of miles to visit his sick brother. Unable to drive a car, Alvin decides to make the journey on a small riding lawnmower. Slowly traveling across rural America, he meets strangers along the way who share their own stories and struggles. Richard Farnsworth gives a deeply moving performance as Alvin, portraying a man determined to make peace with his past before it is too late. Directed by David Lynch, the film is very different from his usual mysterious style. Instead, it is calm, warm, and deeply emotional. The Straight Story is a gentle reminder about forgiveness, family, and the importance of reconnecting with the people we love. The 90s gave us more than just the movies everyone remembers. Hidden among the blockbusters were stories that were quieter, deeper, and sometimes even more powerful. These films may not have dominated the box office, but they left behind unforgettable characters, bold storytelling, and moments that still resonate today. If any of these movies caught your interest, it might be the perfect time to revisit them or discover them for the first time. And if you enjoy uncovering forgotten film gems like these, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more cinematic treasures from the past.